The stars had always called to Jake Miller. Even as a young boy growing up in Texas, he would look up at the night sky and wonder what secrets it held. Now, at 42 years old, he stood on the bridge of the ISS Horizon, humanity's first true deep space vessel. The year was 2147, and Jake was about to discover that the universe was not empty, that the horizon floated near Jupiter's orbit, collecting data and testing new engine systems. Jake watched the giant planet through the observation window. Its swirling storms had raged for millions of years. It made him feel small, but also proud. Humans had come so far. "Commander Miller," said his second officer, a young woman named Sarah Wells, "we're picking up something strange on sensors." Jake walked to her station and looked at the screen. The readings made no sense. There was a massive energy signature appearing from nowhere, as if space itself was tearing open. "What am I looking at?" Jake asked. Before Sarah could answer, the tear in space grew larger. Light poured out of it, bright and blue. Then ships began to emerge. Not one or two ships. Hundreds of them. They were unlike anything Jake had ever seen. Smooth silver shaped like teardrops. Beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "Sir," Sarah whispered, her voice shaking. "Those are not ours." Jake's heart pounded in his chest. First contact. Every human had dreamed of this moment. Every scientist had prepared for it. But nothing could have prepared Jake for the cold fear that gripped him now. These ships were enormous. The smallest was twice the size of the horizon. The largest was bigger than any city on Earth. The communication system crackled to life. A voice came through, translated into perfect English by some unknown technology. "Species 7042, designated human. This is Ambassador Vorn of the Galactic Dominion Council. We have observed your world. We have studied your people. Your planet has been claimed as Resource World 881. You have 30 of your solar cycles to surrender all governance to the Council. Do not resist. Resistance is not logical. Every species before you has submitted. You will do the same." The message ended. Jake stood frozen. His crew looked at him with wide eyes, waiting for him to say something, to do something. But what could he do? He was one man on one small ship, facing an alien armada. "Send this to Earth," Jake finally said. "Send everything? Every reading, every image, every word. The people need to know what's coming." 8 hours later, the message reached Earth. It spread across every news channel, every social media platform, every phone and computer on the planet. Panic followed. People ran through streets. Governments held emergency meetings. Religious leaders spoke of the end times, but in a bunker deep beneath Geneva, President Emma Davis remained calm. She was 55 years old, a former soldier turned politician. She had seen war. She had seen death. She had learned that panic was the enemy of survival. "Talk to me," she said to the room full of generals and scientists. "What are we dealing with?" General Tom Bradley, a large man with gray hair and tired eyes, pulled up holographic displays. "Their fleet has over 800 vessels. Their smallest ship carries weapons that could level a city. Their largest could probably crack the planet in half. Technology-wise, they're at least 500 years ahead of us. Maybe more." The room fell silent. 500 years. Humans had gone from horses to spaceships in 200 years. What could 500 more years of progress create? "Can we fight them?" Emma asked. Tom shook his head slowly. "With conventional weapons? No, our missiles would be like throwing rocks at a tank. Our ships are toys compared to theirs." A woman in the corner raised her hand. She was younger than most in the room, with sharp eyes behind thin glasses. Her name was Lisa Park, and she led the most advanced research division in the world. May I speak, Madam President? Emma nodded. Lisa walked to the center of the room. I've been analyzing the data from the horizon. The alien transmission, their ship signatures, their energy patterns. And I've noticed something interesting. She pulled up her own display, showing alien text and symbols. Their technology is old, Lisa said. Not old as in broken or weak. Old as in unchanged. These readings match theoretical models we've had for decades. They perfected their technology long ago and stopped improving. They stopped innovating. What does that mean for us? Emma asked. Lisa smiled slightly. It means they've never had to adapt. They've never faced a real challenge. Every species they've conquered simply gave up at first contact. They don't know what a real fight looks like. General Bradley stepped forward. Are you suggesting we fight them? Did you not hear what I just said? They outgun us completely. They outgun us today, Lisa replied. But humans learn fast. We adapt, we improvise. We've been fighting wars against each other for thousands of years. We know things about combat, about survival, about never giving up, that these aliens have never needed to learn. President Davis stood from her chair. She walked to the window, even though there was nothing to see underground. She thought about her daughter, her grandchildren, every human being on the planet above her. 30 days, she said quietly. They gave us 30 days to surrender. Yes, Madam President. Emma turned back to the room. Her eyes were hard now, filled with something that had been sleeping inside her for years. It was the same fire that had carried her through 2 wars and 100 political battles. Then we have 30 days to show them who they're dealing with. Contact every nation, every government, every military. Tell them the old fights are over. Tell them we have a new enemy now. Tell them humanity is going to war. The message went out that night. And for the first time in history, every country on Earth answered the same call. Old enemies shook hands. Ancient hatreds were put aside. Borders that had divided people for centuries suddenly meant nothing, because in the face of extinction, humans finally remembered something important. They were not Americans or Russians or Chinese. They were not black or white or brown. They were humans. And they were going to fight together, or die together. In orbit around Jupiter. Jake Miller received the president's response. He read it 3 times, hardly believing the words. We do not surrender. We do not submit. We are humanity, and we will never bow. Jake smiled for the first time since the aliens arrived. He didn't know if they could win. He didn't know if any of them would survive. But he knew one thing for certain. This was going to be a fight the galaxy would never forget. Ambassador Vaughn had conquered 12 worlds in his long career. He had watched species far more advanced than humans bend their knees and accept council rule. It was always the same. The primitives would panic, then beg, then submit. It was the natural order of things. The strong ruled the weak. This was how the galaxy had worked for 10,000 years. So, when his shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere on the 28th day, Vaughn expected nothing different. He expected crying leaders and desperate pleas for mercy. He expected to walk into their gathering place and receive their complete surrender. He had already planned his victory speech. The shuttle landed in New York City, in front of a building the humans called the United Nations. Vaughn stepped out with 4 armored guards at his side. He was tall and thin, with pale gray skin and large black eyes. His robes were white and gold, symbols of his high rank. He looked at the primitive buildings around him and felt nothing but contempt. But then he saw the humans waiting for him. And something felt wrong. There were thousands of them. Not cowering in fear. Not running away. They stood in perfect lines, wearing the uniforms of their different nations. Their flags flew together, side by side. And at the top of the steps, a woman stood alone, President Emma Davis wore a simple black suit. Her gray hair was pulled back tight. Her hands were clasped behind her back. She did not smile. She did not bow. She simply watched Vorn approach with eyes as cold as Winter.Vorn stopped at the bottom of the steps. "I am Ambassador Vorn of the Galactic Dominion Council. I have come to accept your surrender." Emma did not move. "There will be no surrender." Vorn's translator flickered. For a moment, he thought it had made an error. "I do not understand. You have seen our fleet. You have 2 days remaining. Surely you know resistance is impossible." "We know exactly what you are," Emma replied. "And we decline your offer." The word hit Vorn like a physical blow. Decline. No species had ever declined. It was not supposed to happen. It was not in any of his preparation files. A man stepped forward to stand beside the president. He was younger than her, with broad shoulders and a scar across his jaw. His name was Ryan Shaw, and he was a colonel in the United States military. "Let me make this simple for you," Ryan said. "We've been killing each other since before your ancestors crawled out of whatever swamp they came from. War isn't something we do sometimes. It's what we are. So if you want this planet, you're going to have to take it from our cold, dead hands." Vorn stared at them. These primitives were insane. They had no chance. Their weapons were like children's toys. Their ships couldn't even leave their own solar system properly. And yet they stood there, defying an empire that had ruled the stars for millennia. "You are making a terrible mistake," Vorn said quietly. "The Council does not show mercy to those who resist." Emma smiled. It was not a happy smile. "Neither do we." Vorn returned to his shuttle. As it lifted off, he sent a message to the fleet. His hands were shaking, though he did not know why. "The humans have refused. Commence primary strikes. Teach them the cost of defiance." The first orbital strikes came 2 hours later. 3 beams of light fell from the sky. One hit a military base in Germany. One struck a naval port in Japan. One destroyed a missile facility in the United States. In seconds, 3 million people were dead. Entire cities became craters of glass and ash. The world watched in horror. Satellites broadcast the destruction live. Families screamed as they saw their loved ones die. Governments fell into chaos. Many believed this was the end, but something else happened too. Something the Council had never seen before. Humanity got angry, not frightened, not broken. Angry. In factories across the world, machines that had built cars and phones and toys began building weapons. In universities, professors and students dropped their normal research and started studying the alien technology. In military bases, soldiers who had been enemies for generations now trained side by side. A young physicist named Mike Chen worked in a basement laboratory at MIT. He had been studying quantum mechanics his whole life, dreaming of discoveries that would change the world. Now he had a new purpose. Mike stared at the wreckage of an alien drone that had crashed during the strikes. It was small, no bigger than a basketball, but its technology was beyond anything on Earth. He spent 3 days without sleep, taking it apart piece by piece, trying to understand how it worked. On the 4th day, he found it. The secret behind their shields. "It's frequency-based," he explained to General Bradley over a video call. "Their shields vibrate at a specific rate. They're designed to absorb and redirect energy weapons. Lasers, plasma, radiation. Anything the Council has ever faced. So we can't hurt them," Bradley said heavily. Mike shook his head. "No, you're not listening. They're designed for energy weapons, because that's what everyone in the galaxy uses. But we never developed energy weapons. We still use kinetic weapons, bullets, missiles, things that physically hit the target." He pulled up a simulation on his computer. "Watch this." I ran the numbers. A standard rifle round at high velocity would pass right through their shields. They're not protected against it. They never needed to be. Bradley leaned forward. You're telling me we can shoot them with regular guns? Not regular guns. The bullets need to be moving fast enough. But yes, their greatest strength has a weakness, and we might be the only species in the galaxy who can exploit it. The information spread through the resistance networks. Scientists worked around the clock to develop new weapons. They called them railguns, devices that could fire metal slugs at incredible speeds using magnetic force. The first prototypes were ugly and dangerous. Many exploded during testing. But slowly, they began to work. Underground, in bunkers and basements and hidden caves, humanity prepared for war. Colonel Ryan Shaw led training operations for Special Forces teams. He taught them how to move silently, how to strike fast, how to disappear before the enemy could respond. The aliens have better technology, he told his soldiers. They have bigger ships and stronger weapons. But they don't know how to fight dirty. They don't know how to lose half their squad and keep going. They don't know what it's like to be hungry and tired and outnumbered and still refuse to quit. He looked at each face in the dim light. Men and women from every country on Earth. Former enemies now brothers and sisters. That's our advantage, Ryan said. We're not just fighting for territory or resources. We're fighting for everything. Our families. Our homes. Our right to exist. And that makes us more dangerous than any weapon they have. Above the Earth, Ambassador Vorm watched the planet through his observation window. The strike should have broken them. Every other species would have surrendered by now, begging for mercy. But his intelligence reports showed something else. Human communications were increasing, not decreasing. Their factories were running at full capacity. Their military movements suggested not retreat, but preparation. For the first time in his long career, Vaughn felt something he did not recognize. It took him several moments to identify the emotion. It was doubt. What are you? He whispered to the blue planet below. What kind of creatures are you? He would learn the answer soon enough, and he would not like it. 6 months had passed since the invasion began. The Council's ground forces occupied every major city on Earth. Their soldiers walked through human streets. Their ships filled human skies. Their flags flew over human buildings. To any outside observer, humanity had been conquered, but the Council had made a terrible mistake. They had taken the cities, but not the people. They had occupied the land, but not the spirit. And in the shadows, in the mountains, in the forests and deserts and underground tunnels, humanity was preparing to strike back. Captain Amy Foster crouched behind a frozen rock in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado. Snow fell around her, covering her white camouflage suit. 20 soldiers lay hidden nearby, waiting for her signal. They had been hiking for 3 days through impossible terrain, avoiding alien patrols and surveillance drones. Their target was an alien supply depot built in a valley between 2 peaks. It held weapons, food, and most importantly, fuel for the Council's ground vehicles. Without that fuel, their occupation forces in the western region would be crippled. Remember the plan, Amy whispered into her radio. Fast and quiet. We hit them hard, grab what we can carry, and disappear before their reinforcements arrive. No heroics. No staying to fight. We get in, we hurt them, we get out. Her soldiers acknowledged one by one. They were young, most of them. Farmers and students and office workers 6 months ago. Killers now. The Council had taught them that. Amy checked her weapon. It was a modified rifle, rebuilt by resistance engineers. It fired bullets made of a special metal alloy, designed to penetrate alien armor. They called it a Council killer. Dark humor, but it helped them cope. Go, she said. They moved like ghosts through the snow. The depot had 30 alien guards, tall creatures in black armor. They stood at their posts looking bored. 6 months of easy occupation had made them lazy. They didn't expect trouble from the primitive humans. That laziness cost them their lives. Amy's team struck from 3 directions at once. The first aliens died before they could raise their weapons. The others tried to fight back, but human bullets tore through their shields like paper. The weapons Mike Chun had designed worked perfectly. In 90 seconds, it was over. 30 dead aliens. 0 human casualties. Move, Amy ordered. Grab the supplies. Plant the explosives. We're out in 5 minutes. Our soldiers worked fast. They took alien grenades, power cells, communication devices, everything that could be used or studied. Then they set charges around the fuel storage tanks. As they ran back into the mountains, the depot exploded behind them. A column of fire rose into the sky. Miles away, alien commanders saw the smoke and sent urgent messages to their superiors. Humans were fighting back. The news of Amy's victory spread through resistance networks around the world. It wasn't a major battle. It didn't change the course of the war. But it proved something far more important. The aliens could be killed. They could be hurt. They could be afraid. Similar raids began happening everywhere. In the jungles of South America, resistance fighters ambushed alien patrols. In the ruins of European cities, snipers picked off occupation soldiers one by one. In Asia, hackers broke into alien communication systems and stole valuable intelligence. Each victory was small. Each victory cost lives. But slowly, painfully, humanity was learning how to fight. Deep beneath the Nevada desert, Dr. Lisa Park worked on something much bigger. The underground facility stretched for miles, hidden from alien sensors by layers of rock and special shielding. 2,000 scientists and engineers worked there day and night. They called their project Prometheus, after the Greek god who gave fire to humanity. Lisa stood before a massive weapon system, checking readings on her tablet. It was a railgun, but not like the small ones the resistance used. This one was the size of a building, capable of launching projectiles into orbit. The calculations are ready, said her assistant, a young man named James. If we fire at the right angle, with the right velocity, we can hit their ships. Lisa shook her head. Hitting them isn't enough. Their ships have repair systems. We need to hit them hard enough to destroy them completely. The power requirements for that would be enormous. I know. Lisa pulled up a new display. That's why we're building 12 of them, synchronized to fire together, all targeting the same ship at the same moment. James stared at her. That's insane. Insane is watching our planet get conquered and doing nothing. Lisa turned to face him. We have one chance at this. When we reveal ourselves, the Council will throw everything they have at us. We need to make that first shot count. Meanwhile, Mike Chun was working on another project. He had cracked the alien shield technology. He had helped design the kinetic weapons. But now he was working on something even more important: communication. Their network is galaxy-wide, Mike explained to General Bradley during a secure video conference. Every Council ship, every occupied planet, every soldier, they're all connected. If we can tap into it, we can listen to their orders, track their movements, maybe even send our own messages. Bradley frowned. And how does that help us? We're trying to survive, not make phone calls. Think bigger, Mike said. The Council rules 12 species. 12 planets that surrendered, just like they expected us to. What if those species knew we were fighting? What if they knew it was possible to resist? Bradley was silent for a long moment. You want to start a revolution. I want to give them hope. The same hope we found when we realized we could fight back. It took 3 more months, but Mike finally did it. Using stolen alien technology and human creativity, he built a transmitter capable of reaching the Council's network. The message was simple, translated into every language the Council used. We are humanity. We are still fighting. You can too. The message went out to 100 worlds. On most of them, nothing happened. The conquered species had forgotten how to resist. They had been slaves for too long. But on some worlds, a few brave souls heard the message and remembered what freedom felt like. Back on Earth, the war entered a new phase. The Council realized they were facing something new, something dangerous. They increased their ground forces. They tightened security. They began executing any humans suspected of helping the resistance. But it was too late. The flame of rebellion had been lit, and it was spreading in Chicago. A battle was about to begin that would change everything. An alien cruiser descended over the city to suppress a reported uprising. It was a standard operation, one the Council had performed thousands of times on hundreds of worlds. But this time, hidden batteries around the city activated. Railguns that had taken months to build and position. Lisa Park herself gave the order. Fire. 20 projectiles launched simultaneously. They traveled at speeds the alien sensors couldn't track. They hit the cruiser's shields and passed right through. The great ship shuddered. Explosions rippled across its hull. For a moment, it hung in the air, as if confused. Then it fell, crashing into Lake Michigan with a sound like thunder. Across the planet, resistance fighters stopped what they were doing and looked up. Word spread instantly through their networks. A Council warship had fallen. Shot down by humans. Ambassador Vorn received the report on his command ship in orbit. He read it 3 times, refusing to believe what he was seeing. One of their ships, destroyed. By PRIMATIV, his hands trembled as he contacted the Council homeworld. For the first time in 10,000 years, they were losing, and they had no idea how to respond. 1 year after the invasion began, humanity launched its greatest attack. They called it Operation Black Sky, and it would determine the fate of Earth. The plan was simple but dangerous. The Council controlled Earth's orbit with a ring of warships and weapons platforms. As long as those ships floated above the planet, humanity could never be truly free. Every resistance victory could be undone by a single orbital strike. Every liberated city could be reduced to ash in seconds. The ships had to go. For 12 months, factories around the world had been building in secret. Not weapons this time, but spacecraft. They were ugly machines, nothing like the elegant alien vessels. They were made of scrap metal and stolen technology, held together by determination and hope. But they could fly, and they could fight. Sergeant Dan Walker sat in the cockpit of one such ship. It had no official name, just a number painted on its side. Dan had given it his own name anyway. He called it Lucky, because that's what they would need to survive. All pilots, this is General Bradley. The voice came through the communication system, clear and strong. You know what's at stake. We've spent a year bleeding for this moment. Those ships up there have killed our families, destroyed our cities, tried to break our spirit. Tonight, we show them what humanity is made of. Dan checked his weapon systems. Missiles loaded. Railguns charged. Shields at maximum. He thought about his wife and young daughter, hiding in a bunker somewhere in Montana. He had promised them he would come home. He intended to keep that promise. All ships, launch in 30 seconds. Across the planet, hatches opened in mountains and deserts and frozen tundra. 100 human ships rose into the night sky, their engines burning bright. They climbed through the atmosphere, racing toward the enemy fleet. The Council ships detected them immediately. Ambassador Vaughn watched from his command vessel as alerts filled his screens. His officers looked at him, waiting for orders. Impossible, one of them said. They built ships? How did we not know? Vorn had no answer. His intelligence had failed completely. The humans had hidden an entire fleet right under their noses. He had underestimated them again. "Launch all fighters," he commanded. "Destroy them before they reach our main ships." The space above Earth became a battlefield. Alien fighters, fast and precise, engaged the human ships. They expected an easy victory. They were wrong. Dan pulled Lucky into a sharp turn, dodging energy beams from an alien fighter. The movement would have killed him in a normal aircraft, but the ship's systems kept him alive. He swung around and fired his railgun. The metal slugs tore through the enemy craft, and it exploded in a ball of fire. "Got one!" he shouted. All around him, similar battles raged. Human pilots fought with reckless courage, doing things no rational person would attempt. They flew too fast, turned too hard, attacked targets too large. By any logical measure, they should have been destroyed in minutes. But humans were not logical. They were desperate, angry, and fighting for their homes. Jenny Cole was one of the youngest pilots in the attack. She was 23 years old, a former college student who had learned to fly only 6 months ago. Now she was diving toward a Council cruiser, her ship's alarms screaming warnings. Her weapons were empty. Her shields were failing. A dozen alien fighters were chasing her. Any sane person would have retreated. Jenny aimed her ship at the cruiser's bridge and pushed her engines to maximum. "Jenny, what are you doing?" Dan's voice came through her radio. "Pull up, pull up." "No time," she replied. "Tell my mom I love her." She ejected 1 second before impact. Her escape pod shot into space as her ship crashed into the cruiser's command center. The explosion was massive. The great ship listed to one side, its controls destroyed. Dan caught Jenny's pod with a magnetic grapple and pulled her to safety. She was unconscious, but alive. Another human had given everything for victory. The battle raged for hours. Losses were heavy on both sides. But slowly, impossibly, the humans began to win. Their ugly ships proved surprisingly tough. Their weapons cut through alien shields. And their pilots refused to give up, even when all hope seemed lost. Lieutenant Mark Davis commanded a small squadron near the Council's command station. His ship was badly damaged, engines failing, weapons nearly spent. But he had 1 missile left and 1 chance. "All units, I'm making a run at the station's reactor," he announced. "Cover me if you can." "Mark, that's suicide," someone shouted. "Maybe, but if I take out that reactor, their whole defensive network goes down." He flew straight into the heart of the enemy formation. Alien ships fired at him from every direction. His shields collapsed. His hull was torn open. He could feel the cold of space pressing in, but he made it. His last missile launched, flying true, striking the reactor's core. The station exploded with the force of a small sun. The shockwave disabled a dozen Council ships. Their coordination fell apart without the central command. Mark didn't survive. His ship disintegrated in the blast. But his sacrifice opened a hole in the enemy lines, and human ships poured through. On the ground, Mike Chun watched the battle through satellite feeds. His hands moved quickly over his console, sending a different kind of attack. "Broadcasting now," he announced. His message, the one he had worked on for months, went out across the Council's network. But this time, it wasn't just words. It included video of the battle, images of human ships destroying Council warships, proof that the mighty Dominion could be beaten. On 12 different worlds, enslaved species saw those images. They saw humans, primitives by Council standards, fighting back and winning. Something stirred in their hearts. Something that had been dead for generations. Hope. Ambassador Vorn's command ship was one of the last still fighting. He stood on his bridge, watching his fleet crumble around him. Half his ships were destroyed or disabled. His fighters were scattered. The humans were winning. How? He whispered, "How is this possible?" His first officer had no answer. None of them did. They had conquered 100 worlds without losing a single major battle. Now they were being destroyed by a species that had barely reached the stars. A human ship appeared on their sensors, flying directly toward them. It was small and damaged, but its weapons were still active. "Destroy it," Warren ordered. Before his gunners could fire, the human ship launched everything it had. Missiles, railgun rounds, even pieces of its own hull, thrown at the command ship with desperate force. Warren's shields held against most of it. But one missile got through. It hit the engine room, causing a chain reaction that crippled the ship as his vessel died around him. Warren finally understood what he was facing. These humans weren't just fighting for territory or resources. They were fighting for survival, for their children, for their future. And that made them more dangerous than any army he had ever faced. When the battle ended, 60 human ships remained. They had lost 40 pilots, brave men and women who had given everything. But the Council fleet above Earth was shattered. Their orbital platforms were destroyed. For the first time in a year, human skies were clear. General Bradley's voice came through every speaker on the planet. Operation Black Sky is complete. Earth's orbit belongs to humanity again. In bunkers and caves and hidden bases around the world, people cheered. They cried. They held each other and dared to believe that victory was possible. Dan Walker returned to Earth with Jenny Cole still unconscious in his cargo hold. He landed at a makeshift airfield in Kansas, where medics rushed to help her. As he climbed out of Lucky, Dan looked up at the night sky. For the first time in a year, he couldn't see any alien ships. Just stars. Beautiful, peaceful stars. But he knew the war wasn't over. The Council wouldn't accept this defeat. They would send more ships, more soldiers, more weapons. The real fight was still coming. But for tonight, just for tonight, humanity had won. And that was enough. The Council's response came 18 months after first contact. It was everything humanity had feared and more. Supreme Commander Tellus stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. He was ancient, even by his species' standards, with scales that had faded from bright blue to dull gray. He had commanded armies for 3,000 years. He had never lost dot around him. The largest fleet in Council history moved toward Earth. 5,000 ships. Enough firepower to destroy a dozen planets. The Council had emptied their reserves, called back their patrols, gathered every weapon they possessed. The humans must be erased, the Council's orders had said. They have inspired rebellion. They have challenged our authority. They must be made an example. No survivors. No mercy. Tellus studied the blue planet on his display. Such a small world to cause so much trouble. Such a primitive species to defeat a Council fleet. He felt something like respect, though he would never admit it. "Supreme Commander," his officer reported. "We will be in firing range within 6 hours. Good. Prepare all weapons. Target their major population centers first." On Earth, the warnings came quickly. Satellites detected the incoming fleet while it was still near Mars. The size was almost impossible to comprehend. 5,000 ships. Against 60 surviving human vessels. President Emma Davis received the report in her command bunker. She read the numbers 3 times, letting them sink in. This was it. The final battle. Win or lose, everything ended today. "Get me General Bradley," she ordered. "And Dr. Park." They gathered in the war room, surrounded by screens showing the approaching enemy. The mood was grim, but not hopeless. They had known this day would come. They had prepared. "Lisa," Emma said. "Is it ready?" Dr. Lisa Park nodded slowly. Her eyes were red from lack of sleep, but they burned with determination. "Project Atlas is complete. She's ready to launch, she? Lisa allowed herself a small smile. The crew has been calling her Defiance. Seemed appropriate. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a cavern carved from solid rock, humanity's greatest secret waited. The ISS Defiance was unlike any ship ever built. She was massive, nearly a kilometer long, made of human steel and alien technology. Her armor could learn from every hit and adapt. Her weapons combined Council energy systems with human kinetic brutality. She was ugly. She was dangerous. She was humanity's last hope. Commander Jake Miller walked through Defiance's corridors, checking systems one final time. He had come a long way from that day near Jupiter when everything began. He had lost friends, watched cities burn, nearly died a dozen times. But he had survived. And now he would lead humanity's final fight. His crew was a mix of everyone who remained. Soldiers and scientists. Veterans and volunteers. People from every country, every background, united by one purpose. Commander, his first officer reported. All systems are green. We're ready to launch. Jake nodded. Take us up. The ocean floor opened. Water rushed aside as Defiance rose from the depths. She broke the surface like a whale breaching. Then her engines ignited, pushing her toward the sky. Across the world, people looked up and saw her. This monstrous ship, climbing toward space, carrying their last hope. Some prayed. Some cheered. Some simply watched in silence. Supreme Commander Tellus detected the human ship when it entered orbit. He studied its readings with growing surprise. That vessel is almost as large as ours, his officer said, voice uncertain. Impossible. They built this in 18 months? It appears so, Supreme Commander. Kalos felt something cold in his chest. Not fear, exactly. His species had evolved beyond fear long ago. But something close to it. These humans continued to surprise him. That was dangerous. All ships, focus fire on that vessel. Destroy it immediately. The battle began. Council ships opened fire with weapons that could crack planets. Beams of pure energy lanced through space, converging on Defiance. The human ship should have been vaporized instantly. Instead, her armor absorbed the first volley. It analyzed the energy, adapted its structure, and deflected the second. Jake watched the damage reports with grim satisfaction. Return fire, he ordered. All weapons. Defiance's guns roared. Railgun projectiles, nuclear-tipped missiles, captured Council energy weapons. They struck the lead enemy ships and tore them apart. 4 Council. Destroyers exploded in the first minute, but there were thousands more. The battle spread across the entire orbital zone. Human pilots in their patched-together ships flew alongside Defiance, engaging enemy fighters and bombers. They died by the dozens, but they kept fighting, buying time for the main ship. Dan Walker was among them. Lucky was barely holding together, her hull covered in scars from the first battle. But she still flew, and Dan still fought. This is Walker, engaging enemy cruiser on our left flank. He dove toward the massive ship, firing everything he had. His rounds punched holes in its hull. Explosions rippled across its surface. But it was still coming. Walker, pull back. Someone shouted. You can't take that thing alone. Watch me. He flew straight at the cruiser's bridge, just like Jenny Cole had done months ago. But this time, he had a plan. At the last second, he released his remaining missiles and pulled up hard. The missiles hit the bridge just as he scraped past, close enough to see the alien crew through the windows. The cruiser died behind him, spiraling down toward Earth's atmosphere. On Defiance, Jake commanded the impossible. His ship took hit after hit, her armor learning and adapting with each impact. They destroyed Council ships by the hundreds, but more kept coming. It was like fighting an ocean. "Commander, our shields are failing," his officer reported. "Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12. We're losing power." Jake gripped his command chair. They had hurt the enemy badly. Maybe 1,000 council ships destroyed. But there were still 4,000 more, and Defiance couldn't take much more punishment. "Get me a channel to the enemy flagship," he said. The connection opened. Supreme Commander Tellus appeared on the screen, his ancient face unreadable. "You wish to surrender?" Tellus asked. "No." Jake stood, facing the alien commander. "I want you to understand something. Even if you destroy us today, you've already lost. We send messages to every world you've conquered. We showed them what we did, how we fought. Right now, on a dozen planets, people are remembering what freedom feels like." Tellus was silent. "You can kill us," Jake continued. "You can burn our planet. But you can't kill what we started. The idea that you can be beaten. That idea will spread. It will grow. And eventually, it will tear your empire apart." For a long moment, neither commander spoke. Then Tellus cut the connection. "Sir, enemy flagship is moving toward us," the officer reported. "They're going to ram us." Jake nodded slowly. "Then we'll take them with us. All power to forward weapons. Prepare for impact." But the impact never came. Without warning, Council ships began exploding throughout the fleet. Not from human weapons, but from within. Fire spread across their hulls. Their engines failed. Their shields collapsed. Jake stared at the chaos. "What's happening?" The answer came from an unexpected source. A new voice on the communication channel, speaking in a language that translated as clicks and whistles. "We are the Free Species Alliance. We heard your message. We have spent 10,000 years as slaves. But today, we remember how to fight." Ships began appearing from behind Earth's moon. Dozens of them, then hundreds. They were not council vessels. They were older, stranger, ships that had been hidden or forgotten for generations. The conquered species had risen. They attacked the council fleet from behind, catching them between two forces. The battle that should have been humanity's last stand became a rout. Council ships fled or surrendered. Their perfect formation fell apart in the chaos. Supreme Commander Tellus stood alone on his bridge as explosions rocked his flagship. His crew was dead or fled. His fleet was destroyed. 3,000 years of victories meant nothing now. General Bradley led a boarding party that cut through the ship's corridors. They found Tellus in his command center, surrounded by dead screens and broken dreams. "How?" the ancient commander asked. "You were primitives. You had nothing." Bradley holstered his weapon. He felt no joy in this moment, only tired relief. "We had each other," he said. "We had something to fight for. And we never learned how to give up." The Treaty of Earth was signed 3 months later. The Galactic Dominion Council was dissolved. In its place, a new Galactic Federation was formed, with representatives from every free species, including humanity. President Emma Davis stood before the assembly on the first day. Behind her, flags from 100 worlds hung together. "We don't want to rule you," she said. "We don't want revenge. We want what we've always wanted. To be free, to explore, to build a future where no one lives in chains." Jake Miller took Defiance on her first exploration mission beyond known space. His crew included humans and aliens, former enemies now friends. They were searching for other species, other civilizations, to bring them into the new Federation. Lisa Park returned to her research, but now she worked alongside alien scientists. Together, they pushed the boundaries of what was possible, sharing knowledge that had been hoarded for millennia. And across the galaxy, a new saying spread among the stars. It was spoken in 100 languages, but the meaning was always the same. Never underestimate the humans. They don't know how to surrender. On Earth, life slowly returned to normal. Cities were rebuilt.